More and more women are breaking the glass ceiling in the corporate world to lead Fortune 500 companies. According to NBC News, there are 41 of them right now, up from 33 in 2019. And the same is true in government. Nationally, we have our first female vice president. And as Rory Taylor reports, here in Oklahoma, the governor has appointed an unprecedented number of women to positions of influence and power.
March was Women's History Month, and right now, history is being made in the administration of Governor Kevin Stitt. There are 5 women currently serving in his cabinet. One of his newest hires is Patricia Everest, who was appointed 2 weeks ago as the state's Secretary of Public Safety.
Here I am in a position that would generally be very law enforcement, very male, and being able to be recognized to be part of that system and knowing that I will champion them as I would anything if I had been a part of it from my earliest days in my career.
We are so excited that the governor this year has appointed the largest number of women in a governor's cabinet in Oklahoma's history.
Another one of them, Susan Winchester, serving as Secretary of Licensing and Regulation.
In 1998, I was asked to run for the Oklahoma House of Representatives and took the challenge and was elected. Had the opportunity to serve for 10 years. You get to help so many people. That's exactly what had me coming back to help the governor with this challenge or opportunity. I see it very much as an opportunity.
Donelle Harder is president of POWHER PAC, a political action committee focused on helping conservative women run for office at state and local levels. She says women in leadership is a result in part of other cultural shifts.
Over the past few decades, we are seeing a lot more women stay in the workforce longer. I think with the evolving nature of teleworking, we're seeing a lot more women discover that they can do things and keep their profession active at home as well while they're navigating seasons of caretaking.
Alyssa Fisher is the program's director for Sally's List, an organization dedicated to recruiting progressive women to run for office in Oklahoma. Her organization's political beliefs differ from the governor's, but she's been impressed with the number of women being hired.
We really applaud so many of the Republican leaders who are making active efforts to include women and women's perspectives and women's talents in leadership positions because they're so desperately needed in this state.
Currently, Oklahoma ranks 40th in the nation for women in the state legislature, with roughly 20% of our state legislators being women, compared to the 52% of the state's population that's female.
This is a representative government, and so we need women because they take up more than half of our population in Oklahoma. And recent research also shows that when women are in office, they are the most effective leaders in crisis. There's a research that was done by the University of Chicago and released a little over a year ago that highlighted that women, while they're in office, are often the ones that are able to bring home the most projects to their district.
While there are obviously no legal barriers preventing women from claiming leadership roles, most agree that a number of cultural and internal hurdles still exist that explain that representative imbalance.
There are tons of issues women face, and women of color especially face more hurdles and more intense hurdles than white women like me. But regardless, I would say one of the biggest hurdles women face is imposter syndrome.
When you say imposter syndrome, what do you mean by that?
Imposter syndrome is an experience of a person feeling like I'm not qualified for this. I don't see myself doing this. And they might be overqualified for the position.
Fisher suggests the biggest divide between men and women in power isn't difficulty getting elected, but rather having the confidence to run in the first place. And there are multiple reasons for that.
Winning for Women and POWHER have been around for a couple decades, and what they've really discovered in their efforts is that the biggest barrier to entry is financial for a lot of women, because often they're running against an institution, people who need to protect their own interest, and so there's money surrounding those interests, and they're jumping in for the first time without a record in politics or without that institution necessarily behind them.
The number of women in positions of power in the Stitt administration and the increasing number of women being elected to public office represents real progress, but Alyssa Fisher says there's still a lot of work to do.
It's imperative that we encourage and support women in any way we can, whether it be with our words or our finances or, just showing up for them. That really helps.
Rory Taylor, The Oklahoma News Report.
Rory, thanks. For the first time in its history, a woman will be president of Oklahoma State University. Dr. Casey Schrum, who has served as president of OSU's medical school since 2013, will officially replace the retiring Burns Hargis on July 1st, pending approval of the OSU Board of Regents on April 23rd. The native of Coweta, Oklahoma, has also served in the Stitt administration. Schrum will become the 19th president of OSU.